Subukan mo lang.
Sige. Okay. Let's go. Boom! This is it! We're back! R&R in the house! Guten Nacht! Kamusta kayo, sir?
Yes, naririnig mo ba ako?
Yes, yes! Go, go!
Okay, great.
Let's go! Kamusta, Sir Ronald, since last week? Ano pang ano? Ano ba? Ano ba nangyaring?
Ayun,
Anong kabardagulan na
dami,
naman?
dami nangyari. Lumabas
Ay,
na ang mga arrest warrants.
ayan na, finally, itong arrest warrant
Oo.
na yan. Sige, sige, so marami tayong pag-usapan. ICC, of course, there's a request for Visayan or Bisaya and Tagalog translator. So obviously, may implication siguro yan. And then, of course, the West Philippine Sea, Balikatan, itong trilateral summit ni BBM, Kishida, Biden in White House, magta-travel na naman si BBM, magsabay na naman kami, charot. And then of course, opposition, anong latest sa opposition? Baka baka nung habang wala ako sa bansa, iniimbita ka na, Ronald, dahil wala na ako sa eksena. Pero bago tayo punta diyan, simula tayo sa self-proclaimed, since self-proclaimed political analyst daw tayo, pag-usapan naman natin si self-proclaimed, Kamusta? Ito na, may warrant of arrest na, So, ano nangyari? Nasaan na ba? Nasa bansa na ba? Ano ba? Or nag-R&R din siya, rest and recuperation.
Well, may possibility na wala na dito yun.
Yun lang.
Baka kahit last week na sinasabi ng kanyang mga abogado na nandito pa siya, so baka niloloko lang tayo ng kanyang mga abogado. Who knows, no? Alam mo naman, mga abogado ay hindi
What?
hindi naman sila yung the best lawyer.
Honesty is not the first virtue. Okay, sige.
Pero at least lumabas na, no? Nauna yung nauna na yung House. Naglabas Friday ng warrant. Tapos sumunod naman, buti na lang yung Senate, naglabas sila last Monday. Nag-qualify lang nga. May nilabas lang ang letter si Senate President Vic Subiri
Si
na
Senate, washing my hands. Weary.
ministerial lang yung kanyang powers, no? Ministerial lang yung kanyang signature, no? Kaya, parang ang tanong
Talaga.
nila, what was that all about? So,
Hindi, hinintay lang si BBM eh. Di ba? Saktong pagbalik ni BBM, ayan na, na-issue na lahat. At sabi ko mga yan, hinintay lang nila si BBM para may backup sila just in case.
kaya ang galing, no? ang galing. Kaya, tapos na sinimulan na rin yung kaso sa DOJ.
Yeah.
Kaya sumisikip yung mundo ni appointed son of God Quiboloy. Pero dahil hindi naman siya
Self-appointed.
hindi naman
Ano ba? Self-appointed. Diyos ko daw.
hindi naman siya of this world. So, baka hindi naman sumisikip yung mundo niya.
Ayan
Baka nasa
tayo.
langit naman siya lagi.
Nasa alternative universe ng mga
Oo.
DDS. Ayan, medyo. Ito, Sir Ronald. So, wait lang. May parallel, of course, situation sa SMNI. So, just as the world tightens around Quiboloy, the world is also tightening. The walls are closing in on mga bayani, mga freedom of expression fight. Wait lang. Freedom of expression fighters natin. Naku, yung nanay ko, nakipag-picture pa dun sa isang anchor nila, pinagkalitan ko. Sabi ng isang anchor niya, hindi ko na sabihin sino yan. Ha? Sabi niya, wala, hindi kami papasarain kasi namin, in demand. So, ito, may intervention si Senator Grace po kanina na sinabi niya, kailangan na idaan sa very thorough scrutiny itong issue ng franchise because she's worried about dangerous precedents. Although I would say, I think the dangerous precedent was already set during the ABS-CBN. So, I don't know where is this concern kasi we have crossed the river na, we have crossed the Rubicon. But what is your sense on that? Is Senate gonna drag its feet again? Magagana na naman sila? Mag mag-safeguard na naman ba sila?
Well, posible dahil alam mo naman ang mga senador ay conscious sila dun sa kanilang national projection. So unlike yung mga kongresista, ang kailangan na nilang kuning boto ay yung kanilang distrito, no? At yung mga kongresista ay nationwide. So mas siguro may mga reservation yung mga kongresista kung ang kanilang kakatayin ay merong bailiwick, no? At merong national projection, no? Pero then again ay magmumukha naman silang mga gago kung yung house pa na binabanata nila for being concerned.
Exactly!
No?
Yung lower house.
Oo. No, it will make
Ayan
them
tayo.
look bad. So,
Oo.
kaya tingin ko ay matutuloy na rin sa Senado. No? Katulad nitong attempt ng ilang senador na pigilan yung contempt case ni Quiboloy, eventually ay hindi naman nag-succeed dahil nahiya naman yung ibang mga senador at binalanse rin nila yung negative as well as yung positive impact nung kung sakaling tututulan nila yung contempt charges against Quiboloy.
I'm wondering if hindi kaya split the difference Chinese style ang Senate in a sense that hindi na umobra yung ni Hanash ni Robin Hood pero siguro dito na lang sa SMNI dahil may media freedom Chuva Chenez, iyan na natin pagbigyan kasi if you look at the balance of votes hopeless case yung mga DDS dyan sa lower house, di ba? But sa Senate, I mean, there are like 3, 4, 5, 6 of them depending on how you count them. So, hindi kaya mas malaking chance sila na mag-block? But
Well,
of course,
definitely.
invoking press freedom suddenly out of nowhere as if the ABS-CBN precedence is not there.
Well, definitely. Mas madali na tapusin yung SMNI issue sa House at baka man yung balance of forces sa Senate ay i-complement din nila yung House, mas hindi ganun kadali.
Yeah.
Ibig sabihin, kung merong chance yung na kontrahen ng Senate yung SMNI, I think nandun yung possibility na yun. Although, for now, balance of forces even in the Senate ay tingin ko walang chance yung SMNI. No? Lalo na kung magagaling yung kanila mga abogado katulad ni Topacio. No? Medyo mahirap pa.
Isa pa yan.
Oo. Oo, mukhang sobrang galing nun. Tingin ko ay makukumbinsi niya yung mga senador.
Wait lang, wala bang show itong tao na to kasi andyan na si Harry, might as well, 'di ba? Like bring in the whole 'di ba? The whole barangay, 'di ba? Of this interesting people, interesting group of
Yes.
people. Do you think there's a chance na paano yan? Nagsisync ba yung dalawa na yan? Na any resolution on the SMNI issue more or less isasabay sa DOJ. We saw, di ba? With the warrant of arrest ni Quiboloy, mukhang tiniming talaga at na sinigurado nila bumalik si BBM, etc. So clearly there are political calculations involved there. No offense, but I understand where they might be coming from. Parang the thing is, do you think mauna yung, or isi-sync nila yung SMNI at saka para double whammy?
Tingin ko yung SMNI at saka Quiboloy ay basically magkadikit.
Yeah.
No? Ibang issue pa yung ICC. Paano yung ICC? Merong anak na vice president, si Digong. No? Dito sa SMNI at sa ICC, tingin ko ay for the allies of the president, low-hanging fruit yan. Ibig sabihin, pwede nilang tapusin yan. More
Mas
easily
doable,
than the issue of the ICC. Kaya nga, kung titignan mo, sa ICC, mas may kaunting laro si President Bongbong. Dito sa SMNI at saka kay Quiboloy, wala siyang laro. No? Wala siyang laro. Lalo na, very direct yung balat sa kanya ni Quiboloy na siya ay devil worshipper, na siya ay may mga orgies, no? At siya ay...
Ayan ka na naman, Ronald. Nag-overshare ka na naman. Like, I think Ronald, I think people get the idea. You don't have to give too much details.
Ginagamit ko lang yung sinabi ni Quiboloy. No? Sinasabi ko mismo yung sinabi ni Quiboloy na may mga orgies daw sa Malacanang. Yan naman sinasabi ko. Ikaw naman kasi pag narinig mo yung orgies, iba kaagad yung naiisip mo. Pwede
kasi naman.
Kasi naman ang mga orgies.
Kasi naman, syempre nakikinig tayo kay Buljak TV at alam natin yung point of reference ni Buljakan, di ba?
Ako ba naman, sabi mo, grow band tayo.
Ayan tayo. Baka ma-MTRCB tayo. Hindi ko alam kung covered pang R&R sa MTRCB jurisdiction. Pero let's keep it as PG-13. Sir Ronald, so nung kasi may mga, alam mo, hindi ko alam kung nangyari din sa yan, yung pinapasok ka sa mga email group ng mga weird people. But anyway, for some reason, I mean, email group of many people, lalo yung Inquirer column, yung email ko kung saan nilagay. And sometimes, I stumble upon interesting stuff. So, may isang nagsabi dyan, may isang Manila Times columnist na hindi Tiglaw ang pangalan, ay nagsabi something like, baka itong mga Quiboloy people ay ano sila yung parang magmarcha from I don't know Mindanao to Manila, drama sila sa Visayas, etc. At saka dami niyang mga ganyan-ganyan na sinabi. I think kilala mo to, ito yung ano siya yung nag-declare na martial law at nung bata-bata pa siya or something. Kasama si the senior. So what is the capacity for them to create mess, not in a vacuum, but again, given you have a very conflict avoidant president, no, do you think they can meet a threshold whereby medyo magdadalawang isip si BBM?
Well, good luck. Pero yun yung naging failure ng liwasan rally nila eh. No, hindi naman sila lumampas ng 3,000-4,000 eh. So, ang target yata nila ay lumaki at magparamdam sa palasyo. Pero hindi naman sila lumaki. Medyo napahiya nga si Digong at saka si Sara Duterte dahil pumunta sila ron, akala nila lolobo. Mukhang ang nanatiling malaki lang ang lobo yung kanilang mga ego. So, kaya hindi naman na hindi na, tingin ko ay hindi na sila umalis ng liwasan. Dahil kung aalis sila ng liwasan na hindi naman galong kalaki, magmumukha naman silang katawa-tawa. Ngayon, kung may mga plano silang mga lakbayan, no? Mas mahirap 'yon. Dahil people will be marching for days. People will be marching not only for hours, for days in the summer heat, no? Kaya hindi 'yun kadali. Kailangan mo talaga ron ay libo-libong committed na mga tao. At pwede nila subukan pero duda ako kung iyan ay magtatagumpay. Katulad nung kanilang liwasang Bonifacio rally. Parang sila lang, wala namang iba na dagdag sa kanila eh. Beyond their usual crowd, no? So it's like preaching to the choir, no? Or hindi ko sinasabi yung choir ni Quiboloy.
Baka
No?
hindi kaya magkaroon ng rally.
Ng mga Ukrainians, ng mga Ukrainian
Ayan
choir.
naman tayo, Ronaldo, PG-13, reminders. Bago tayo pumunta sa Disneyland, yung mga ganyan usapan, pag-usapan natin ito. So, I mean, you don't fear the possibility na, you don't assess the possibility na as the wall closes in your face type, na baka ano na sila, talagang huling El Bimbo. And yung mga iba rin na grupo na hindi naman kasama ni Quiboloy pero may grievances din kay BBM, bakit makasama sila? Or alam mo na, may mga China, may mga ganyan, alam mo na, yung mga, alam mo, Ocean
parang yun ang
Provocateurs.
hinihintay nila. May hinihintay silang isang mas malaking religious sect para sumama.
Yeah.
Pero yung religious sect na yon ay hindi naman kaibigan nung sekta ni Quiboloy.
Exactly.
Kaya duda ko kung sasama yon. Medyo may sama ng loob kay BBM, pero not enough para mangyari yung EDSA 3.
Yeah.
No? Yun ang iniisip nila, na EDSA 3 type. Dito sa kaso ni
Wait lang,
Quiboloy.
nangyari na yung EDSA 3, di ba kay Erap na yun eh? EDSA
Kaya nga, nung hinuli si Erap,
Yeah.
may mga in their thousands na nagrally at may sumuporta na isang religious group. Pero inaasahan yata nila na yung religious group na yun ay susuporta rin kay Quiboloy at saka kay Digong, no? Siguro nagkamali sila dahil una kaaway nitong sekta ni Quiboloy yung religious group na yon, no? Ikalawa ay medyo na paso na yung religious group na yan dun sa nangyari sa EDSA 3 na hindi nagtagumpay. Kaya siguro kung next time na sasama yan, yung sisiguruhin nila na magtatagumpay, no? I'm almost sure ang inaasahan nitong mga plotters na ito ay magkaroon ng isang malaking mobilization which can trigger sections of the military to move, no? So dalawang kwan yan. If they can muster that numbers, if those numbers can trigger a section of the military to move, at if that two combination will be enough to succeed. So masyadong maraming if, no?
Yeah. Maraming contingent factors, maraming imponderables.
Yes,
Medyo suntok sa buwan. That's ang basa mo dito.
Medyo malabo. Lalo na this early, no, na less than 2 years sa term ng isang record-breaking victory ng isang sitting president, no? Hindi ganun kadali. Siguro after the midterms baka mas may tsansa. Pero ngayon, before the midterms, no, before matapos yung 2 years, mataas pa rin yung approval rating ng presidente. Baka it's more of a prayer rather than a concrete possibility.
So last point, I mean, do you even foresee the possibility of Quiboloy being arrested and then the drama of that itself serving?
Well, yes and no. Dahil mapapahiya naman yung gobyerno, mapapahiya yung House at saka Senate na pwedeng i-pressure yung police na galingan yung kanilang trabaho para hulihin. Pero at the same time, syempre, kakabahan yung police dahil alam naman nila na armado rin naman yung mga ibang mga followers ni
Yeah.
Quiboloy. Hindi naman siya pushover. Baka mapahiya sila o mapahamak, no?
Yeah.
At alam mo naman, halimbawa, si Bantag, hanggang ngayon, hindi pa rin nahuhuli. So, ibig sabihin, sa Pilipinas, hindi ganun kahirap na magtago. Lalo na kung ikaw ay merong enough resources, may enough supporters, may enough network, no? Or even, baka wala ka na rito. Baka nakalabas ka na.
Yeah.
Dahil nung lumabas yung warrant last Friday sa House at sa Senate last Monday, yung susunod kasi dyan ay watch list, no? Hindi pa whole departure order. You will be on the watch list of the Bureau of Immigration. Yung susunod sa watch list ay yung holdover na
Hindi ka na pwede makalabas.
hindi ka na pwede makalabas. So, kung meron siyang plano na lumabas, lalabas siya over the weekend. Na wala pa yung whole departure order, no?
Exactly. So,
Last weekend, not this weekend.
exactly. All right, let's keep it there because I think that's a perfect segue sa next episode natin because may na-arresto si Teves, 'di ba? Sa East Timor yata nag-golf or something. So, idikit natin sa issue ng ICC because, as weak as international bodies could be, there's still an Interpol. There's still a certain degree of law enforcement coordination among different countries. So pag-usapan natin yan sa susunod na episode. Thank you very much, Secretary Ronald Diamas, for that very entertaining pero medyo alanganin discussion talaga si Sir Ron. May mga...
Aircon dito eh.
Dapat-
Mukhang mayroong MTRCB dito
Kaya
sa
nga, dapat may live,
big arms.
may live. Salamat, sir, ha. God bless. Thank you very much. Thank you. Alright, ito na. Pag-usapan na natin. Ito na tayo, CSI, R&R tayo. So, ito, may news na nahuli na po si Sir Teves na nag-golf yata, like in East Timor or something. Like, what's going on there? Like, ganun ba yung sense sila ng impunity na nag-golf lang dyan sa tabi-tabi? At hindi ganun kalayo ang East Timor.
Well, ang akala kasi ni Tebes ay kaibigan niya yung presidente ng East Timor, no? Akala niya ay poprotektahan siya, no? Kaya tingin niya ay pwede lang siyang maglamierda ron pag golf, no? Parang hindi rin niya naunawaan na there are things much bigger than him, no? Halimbawa, hindi naman ganun ka-develop ang East Timor, naghahanap din yan ng tulong sa ibang mga bansa, no? At kung sila ay mag-harbor ng mga criminals, hindi maganda sa kanilang image, no? Even sa Pilipinas, no, ay tingin ko naman in the balance sheet, mas malaki yung kanilang pakinabang na in the good graces sila ng isang malaking bansa kumpara sa kanila na katulad ng Pilipinas, kaysa yung protektahan yung isang kaibigan ng isang presidente ng East Timor, no? Na pinagmamalaki ni Tebes, no? Ang sigurado ko lang yung wanted ng ICC ay hindi sa East Timor magtatago. No, yun lang ako 100% sure hindi siya doon magtatago.
Hindi naman, baka naman is Guangdong or is Beijing.
Yan.
Baka is, Zhejiang, mga ganyan. Okay.
A much bigger place than East
Or
Timor.
baka naman, is Siberia. Yung mga ganon type, di ba? Dalawa lang naman ang mo dyan, best options mo, either China
best
or
friend din niya si
Russia.
Best friend din niya si Putin, no?
Either Russia or China. I mean, I don't think,
yeah.
sabi mo nga, wag na, baka may MTRCB tayo, alam mo na. Ay, forward natin yan. So, in a way, that's a kind of stark reminder, without exaggerating, that there's still something called Interpol. There's still something called interstate policing, law enforcement coordination. Ito naman.
Yes, pero dating head ng Interpol galing sa China. Kung maalala mo, siya yung biglang nawala. Siya yung missing, hinahanap ng misis. And, di ba? Head ng Interpol.
Medyo grabe din yung mga 4 years ago yata, if I'm not mistaken. So ini-infiltrate din kasi ng China ng Interpol at different institutions, pati WHO, di ba? Para lang, they'll do their own thing. Obviously, may interest in China because they have many dissidents, they have many democracy activists, enemies potentially, or billionaires who might escape. So it serves their purpose to colonize essentially a lot of institutions. Sa WHO naman, they're trying to kick out Taiwan. Kawawa yung Taiwan. Considering how good Taiwan is, I think pinaka-successful ng Taiwan in COVID management. So, that's a whole different topic, no? Chinese colonization of international bodies, UN bodies, among others. But balikan natin ito. So there was this announcement recently na naghahanap ng translators ang International Criminal Court. Now, the Tagalog one will be okay. I mean, gets ko yan because, but Bisaya also, Bisaya language. I mean, is that an indication, or we are just exaggerating because 40% of Filipinos are Bisaya speakers?
Well, if that's not an indication, I'll be wondering what is.
Bakit walang Ilocano? Na-heard kami, mga taga-Solid North.
Parang wala naman akong kilala nga Cebuano sa Africa na
Mm.
just about to be charged sa ICC, no?
Yeah.
Or sa former Yugoslavia. Kaya kaya tingin ko it's a very clear indication kung saan papunta yan, no? At it could be sooner than later. Kahit ang lagi pa rin sinasabi ni President Duterte na walang jurisdiction ang ICC sa Pilipinas in spite nung opinion ng Supreme Court, unanimous opinion ng Supreme Court last December 2021 na may jurisdiction sila. Parang okay naman dahil hindi naman niya sinabi na pipigilan niya pumasok ang ICC. At definitely, kung tinetreten ni Digong na imamasakre niya yung mag-i-implement ng international warrant, guguho ang image ni BBM sa international kung papayagan.
Yeah, it will be like Maguindanao, di ba? Yung parang gano'n ang mangyari. So
Yes.
what you're saying,
Kaya pag pinapasok na yan,
your hands will
definitely,
be forced.
Oo, tutulungan niya yan. Not only with the police, but perhaps with the military.
Oh, and you think exaggerated that whole Davao Task Force angle na may sariling Praetorian Guard si Digong sa Davao na they have to disarm them or special forces nila gawin yan.
Mukhang napalitan na, hindi dinisband yung Task Force Davao. Mukhang pinalitan na yung ilang mga key people ng Task Force Davao. So, tingin ko may pamamaraan dahil hindi naman pwedeng ilang taong ka na nakadeploy doon. No? Tingin ko may regularity naman na palitan yung mga leader at saka even the members of Task Force Davao. Hindi naman pwedeng sabihin na ginagawa lamang yon para ihanda yung pagpasok ng ICC. No? Tingin ko it's very regular na gawin yon na 6 months or even less ay dapat pinapalitan. At medyo matagal na yung Task Force Davao dahil mukhang hindi pa nalitan ni Digong when he was the president. No?
Hindi na rin siguro na-anticipate na things will move in this direction so decisively, no? I mean, going back to this, no? How should I put it? Like, ikaw, I mean, can you still fathom like Duterte being arrested and all? Magda-drama yan, mag-wheelchair yan, mag-neck brace yan. I mean, I'm still having what can they do in translations to make this more palatable? Like, anong kaya nilang, ano kaya magiging communication strategy ng ICC to psychologically prepare the Filipino people for this potential big move before the end of the year? Probably second or third quarter of the year.
Yeah. Una ay in terms of period, mukhang usually kasi yung mga ganyang kaso sa ICC, mga 7 to 8 years. At tingin ko, tayo ay nasa period na yan, 7 to 8 years. Wala naman tumatagal ng 8 years. No? Pero ikalawa, kung walang cooperation ng gobyerno, merong at least 14 na wanted ng ICC ang still at large. Ibig sabihin, hindi unique na hindi ma-serve yung warrant either dahil ayaw payagan ng gobyerno pumasok or nakalipat ng bansa na walang powers yung ICC, no? Usually kung merong consensus yung National Security Council, the ICC can request the National Security Council to implement such an order, such a warrant. Ibig sabihin, talagang buong mundo kalaban mo na dyan. Dahil usually, nagbibito sa ICC, either US, Russia, or China. Pero kung papayag yung Security Council ng United Nations, baka wala kang taguan. Tingin ko hindi naman aabot doon. Dahil I'm sure,
I don't
Russia or
malabo yan.
China
I thought you were
dito,
referring to the
no?
Philippine nationals. Yeah, malabo yan.
Yes.
I don't see
Yeah,
anything
yeah,
going there.
yeah. Yun lang ang parang president kung talagang
Yeah,
gusto mong hulihin na wala masyadong problema, no? Kaya
yeah.
tingin ko ay it's very political. Papayag ba ang ating gobyerno na papasukin? It all redounds to that, no? Kung
Oh.
papayag
And to
natin,
what
no?
degree other countries will also put pressure on BBM, di ba? I mean, I doubt US since wala naman silang moral
Yeah.
ascendancy sa issue na yan. Sa Quiboloy
Kaya
muna
nga
sila
nung nasa
mag-focus.
Germany si BBM, they raised the Scholz issue.
Yeah, because they're
Because the
supposed.
Europeans are very keen sa ICC.
Yeah.
Hindi lang dahil nakahouse sa kanila yon, no? Kung hindi kasama sila sa nagtulak niya na mabuo, no?
Yeah,
Kaya
exactly. So at least the Europeans have something to say on this issue. Although of course, Germany has come under criticism in terms of the stance it gave on the ICJ issue. Of course, that's the South Africa Israel issue. Mahabang
I
usapan yan.
think the
Yeah.
Americans are also very keen dahil
Mm.
alam naman nila kung
The China
mananalo
angle, oh.
ang Duterte ay maapektuhan yung kanilang foreign policy ng bansa. At sa ngayon, yung Pilipinas ay key sa kanilang pivot sa Asia.
Which we'll discuss in the next episode, no? Kasi big things are happening literally. Balikatan is coming, Trilateral Summit, Marcos,
Yeah.
Kishida. So, let's park it there. Let's go back to this kasi actually I was hoping to raise it in the previous episode. Pero, again, where does that leave Sara Duterte, right? Will she eventually be put on the list of ICC? I mean, tingnan mo, sobrang aggressive yung intervention ni Sara in behalf of Quiboloy. In a way, it kind of didn't work, right? Tuloy pa rin yung warrant of arrest. Does that show that Sara is being increasingly diminished and at the same time marginalized and potentially could also be eventually targeted by this ICC investigation among others?
Well, una, siguro ito yung pinaka-sharpest na division between Sara and PBBM. Di ba? Marami silang plastika na ginagawa eh. Marami silang mga drama na ginagawa na hindi naman sila magkaaway. Pero ito kasi ay sinuportahan niya
Yeah.
clearly yung si Pastor Quiboloy na clearly ay gustong pabagsakin si PBM, no? Hindi siya nag-mince ng kanyang words against BBM. At ikalawa, dumalo pa siya mismo sa isang rally na nagtetreteng magmarcha sa Malacanang, no? Para puwersahin si PBBM na mag-resign o bumagsak, no? Ang mga sigaw doon, wakasan, tapusin, no? Ibagsak. So, hindi ko alam paano niya papagpagin yan, no? In her relationship with the president, in her relation with the cabinet, in her relation with the government. No? Hindi ko nga ma-imagine paano siya dadalo sa isang cabinet meeting after ng kanyang pagsuporta kay Quiboloy at pagpunta niya doon sa liwasang rally, no? Pero then again, yung ICC usually focuses on a few principles. At mukhang kahit sa testimony ni Las Cañas, kahit isinama niya si Sara sa extrajudicial killings, allegedly, ay hindi ko sigurado kung isasama siya ng ICC. Yung ICC naman hindi pwedeng manduhan ng ating gobyerno. Hindi pwedeng manduhan, oy, isama niyo to, ganyan-ganyan. I doubt na magagawa yan. Si Digong, si Bato, tingin ko mas klaro yan. With Sara and Bongo, I'm not too sure. No? Dahil doon sa pagkakapresent, they are not really the principals, no? At hindi rin sila yung main implementor, no? Kaya pwede silang ma-taint ng ganyang klaseng kaso kung didesisyonan halimbawa ng ICC na akusado si Digong ng crimes against humanity, kahit papaano tatamaan yung iba, no? Lalo na yung mahigit isang dosena na isinama sa communication earlier on during the time of Duterte when he was still a president.
Right.
No, medyo marami yan eh. Hindi lang dalawang senador ang kasama dyan. At meron ding Secretary of Justice na kasama dyan, etc. etc. Pero duda ako kung lahat yan ay isasama, no, dito sa international warrant na malamang lumabas sometime this year. Kaya baka hindi pa maisama si Sara based sa track record ng ICC, pero she will definitely be damaged pag lumabas yung international warrant.
Don't you think pwede rin ICC play them against each other na, oy, kung ayaw mo sumama dyan, ilaglag mo na yung mga principles. I mean, they can also do that, right? I mean, police does that all the time, right? Huli nila yung mid-level, bigyan kita ng ano, pero ilaglag mo yun nandun sa taas, di ba? I mean, pwede rin mangyari yun, di ba? You can play them together against each other.
Yes, pero siyempre, una ay iba rin yung relasyon nila kay Digong. Halimbawa, si
Yeah.
Bongo, parang tatay niya yan.
Yeah,
No?
yeah.
Si Sara, tatay niya talaga yan. No? Ikalawa ay, siyempre, para sila ay mag-turn state witness, no? Ay kailangan makasama sila sa kaso. Di ba? Yun yung, may ganong klaseng unang hakbang. Kung hindi sila isasama sa kaso pa, bakit sila magte-testify? No? So, yun yung ikalawang variable na mahalagang mangyari. No? Kung kasama sila sa international warrant, then you can start negotiations with them. Dahil baka hindi naman sila yung primary accused. Di ba? Yun naman yung nangyayari ng ganyang mga negosasyon eh. Yung primary accused, yung hindi primary, tetestigo laban sa primary. Pero kailangan muna i-accuse sila. No?
Right.
Kailangan muna i-accuse sila.
Right. Before going to the opposition, because I want to also talk about the opposition, what should they do in terms of preparing the ground? Kasi obviously, gumagalaw na yung kabila. Nasa defensive positioning na sila. In fact, preemptive strike na yung ginagawa ni Digong throughout the year, di ba? January attack, February attack, March attack. I mean, if you were to advise BBM or if you were to anticipate what BBM would do, ano kaya magiging communication signaling niya or some of the big visits or meetings he may be doing if alam na nila na in a matter of days or weeks, there will be the warrant of arrest na being issued. I'm sure there's a coordination, some sort of coordination happening behind the scenes. Paano mo paplantsahin yung the ground essentially, di ba? Oo.
Kung ako si BBM, una ay gagamitin ko yung aking initial na pagtutol sa ICC na pumasok dito at gagamitin ko yung aking later na statement na walang jurisdiction yung ICC para sabihin na I've been resisting this all along.
Yeah.
No? Tutol ako dito all along. Pero ayoko masira ako sa international community. Ayoko mag cherry picking ng international law, no? That was before lumabas yung international warrant. Ngayon nandito na yung international warrant. What can I do?
At baka,
No?
parang sinabi
What
ni
can I do?
JV, naliwanagan siya dahil nakita niya yung ebidensya in light of revisiting
Diba?
the evidence. Diba? Parang ganon, baka mangyari
Baka nga
ganon.
hindi ebidensya ang kanyang invoke. Pwede nga invoke niya international pressure.
Yeah.
Dahil ginagamit niya ang international law para sa UNCLOS, para sa West Philippine Sea. Tapos dito, hindi niya gagamitin. Baka masira siya. Baka ma-weaken yung kanyang primary issue ng foreign policy niya, which is the West Philippine Sea, which is UNCLOS. No?
I'm sure he'll not. But Ron, I disagree that
Yeah.
he'll put it as a pressure. Obviously, he wants to show he's standing up for Philippine sovereignty. I think definitely will be something like, oh, makinig kayo dyan. Yung mga taga-ano dyan.
Yeah, pwede
It will
nga,
be
pwede
like,
nga
no, we want to be kind of a, we want to stand for a rules-based order, right? We are a good law-abiding international citizen. Ay, ganon, di ba?
Yun ang ibig sabihin ng...
I know, kasi yung pressure, alam ko.
Yun ang ibig sabihin ng pressure. The pressure of international law. No? Yun yung part. At pwede niyang sabihin, ay, nakaligtaan ko. Sabi nga pala ng aking Supreme Court, unanimously, may jurisdiction pala. No? Ang ICC sa Pilipinas. So ilabas ulit ng Supreme Court yung madalang decision to remind the President. At ikatlo, the surveys. No? Dumadami yung mga Pilipino na gusto na for Duterte to have his day in court. No, yung gagawin niya in a positive way, no?
Yeah.
To have Duterte testify, have his day in court, sabihin yung kanyang posisyon, no? Para ito ay matapos na, no? Pwede niyang gano'n i-spin. So 1 2 3, gano'n yung pwede niyang
And importantly, baka magkaroon ng shake-up, di ba? Because the current Solicitor General is the DOJ of former, di ba, former president, right? I think that could be another major signal. Kung biglang pinalitan yung Solicitor General, more people associated with the former president are purged or taken out of those positions. I think that would be also a signal, di ba?
Ay, hindi malayong mangyari.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I think, yun nga, I'm looking for like signals, di ba? Ano yung mga indicators na mukhang they're napaplansyahin nila, they're gonna bulldozer the ground for something big, no? And I mean, if this were to be around May or June, do you think that gives still enough time for, I don't know, I don't know how to put it, dust to settle, or how does it play into the midterm elections calculus?
Well, dapat
Is it
mangyari
far
yan-
enough, close enough, like,
Dapat mangyari yan before the filing of candidacy in October. No? kung sakaling mangyari yan, baka lumuwag ng kaunti yung Senate race. Dahil ngayon kasi masyadong mahigpit, halos wala nang pinagtatalunan eh. Meron kang 7 re-electionist, meron kang 7 senador na babalik, meron kang 2 halos sigurado, 2 Tulfo brothers, meron kang isang Isko Moreno na halos sigurado, tapos meron kang isang Duterte, Baste or Digong, no, na halos sigurado. So kung mawawala yung isang Duterte at mawawala yung isa o 2 senador sa PDP laban, medyo magbubukas, medyo mag-open, no? At yung iba na nag-hesitate na sumama sa administration, baka nakapila na sa administration dahil nakita nila yung power ng administration vis-a-vis ICC. So yung mga nandun sa Duterte camp, baka magdalawang isip, no? Dahil nakita nila na itong si Duterte na napaka-powerful ay
Sinking ship
pinayagan.
na. Oo.
Oo.
Sinking
So,
ship na.
so maraming value added sa administrasyon, no, kung sakaling papasok yung ICC. Hindi lang dahil
You hit many birds with one stone, right?
Oo,
In that
oo.
sense, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Uh,
Unless they're not very intelligent.
Well, I hope they're wise at least, diba? We don't need to be very brilliant and all. So I think that's perfectly sets the tone for our next discussion. Pag-usapan naman natin anong pwede gawin ng civil society, opposition, because we're just talking about Duterte Marcos, but what about the civil society groups? What should they do? Yung mga in touch with the victims. Should the victims come out? Should there be a much more proactive reaching out to the Filipino people, reminding them of the horrors, di ba? Katulad ng nangyari sa desaparecidos in Argentina, di ba? So pag-usapan natin in the next episode. Thank you very much, Secretary Llamas, for another lively discussion on a very actually grim and compelling topic. Maraming salamat.
Anytime.
Ito na, okay. Okay, ito. Pag-usapan naman natin ang opposition, baka sasabihin na naman, ito na naman si Ronald at Richard, nag-a-apply na naman sa Malacanang. Let's just be clear, it just happens a certain person is in power by some, I don't know, weird twist of history. But now, okay, pag-usapan natin ang opposition because, you know, Ronald, especially in my circles, academic circles, you always hear Philippines, weak state, strong society. You know, that's always what they say about Philippines, about India, among others. But correct me if I'm wrong, Ronald, one of the things we noticed during Duterte time is how we both have a weak state and sometimes even the strength of our civil society perhaps was exaggerated. I mean, I don't know, you correct me, Ronald, but there were so many people who were supposedly progressive and then nung si Digong naging presidente, biglang, even after the purge of the some people, andun pa rin sila, pro Digong pa rin, andun pa, you know, ang daming, I'll put it honestly, ang daming civil society people na lumabas na operator lang pala sila in the end, right? Now, you get what I'm saying? The way they would, I mean, like, how can you claim you're an advocate for these rights and that, and then you completely turn a blind eye, if not apologize, for mass atrocities, crimes against humanity, right? Ang dami natin kilalang ganun, hindi lang sa Manila. Pati sa mga probinsya, wag na natin pangalanan, itag na lang natin mamaya sa Facebook. No. But, so actually, some part of me was wondering, do we really have a strong civil society? Because, you know, it is okay to bring thousands of people when someone like BBM or Aquino, who are not dictatorial, right? Madali lang naman maglaro. But the real test of a strong civil society is when you have a very popular, authoritarian, populist leader, demagogue, can you bring them out? In fairness, India has proven that they have a strong civil society. They have a weak political opposition. But remember yung ginawa nila a few years ago, yung mga farmers, they marched all the way to New Delhi. They occupied the outskirts of New Delhi, hundreds of thousands of them. And eventually, they forced Modi to revisit some of his major land acquisition policies, agricultural policies. So that's Modi na, a very, very astute, a very, very powerful, organized populist. And I was always wondering, ba't walang ganyan sa Pilipinas? Turkey, di ba? Nung elections nila, Erdogan almost lost. The opposition came together. They had a united slate. Alam ko, hindi na ako maimbita ulit. But you see what I'm saying, right? I really began to doubt etong weak state, strong society. I think we have a weak state, weak civil society sometimes, and very strong men once in a while, right? Who just damage the system. So, ang tanong ko dito is, for instance, in Colombia, we saw the victims of Pablo Escobar, right? They came out, they organized. Well, some of them got also deadly, right? They visited revenge on Pablo Escobar. Nagkaroon ng civil war sa Medellin. I'm not asking for that. But what I'm curious about is, bakit hindi nagkaroon ng ganyan mobilization? I mean, all due credit to Riza Ontiveros for being there for Kian de los Santos family, for her coming out for victims of, or alleged victims of etong si self-proclaimed people. But eto nga, so aside from Riza, where's the warm bodies on the ground, civil society? Why are we not hearing the stories of the victims, the parents of the victims, the children of the victims? There hundreds of thousands of them potentially, right? Kung 30,000 ang ano, and each of them have 4 family members at least, you were talking about huge number. And for some reason, Ronald, it looks like umaasa pa rin tayo. Anong gagawin ni BBM? Anong gagawin ni BBM? Why? Or kay Risa lang. I mean, where are the rest? Where's the civil society? Shouldn't they come out now? Shouldn't they bring out, essentially, force it upon BBM to make the right decision on the ICC issue?
Well, we had a very strong, very dynamic civil society in the 80s and in the 90s. Diba? Nagkaroon tayo, no? Ito yung golden age of coalitions. Thousands of NGOs, no? Ang daming advocacies, etc. Ang problema ay nanatili siya in the Gramscian ethos. Nanatili siyang war opposition. Diba? Hindi siya na-consolidate at nag-complement into a war opposition inside the constructs of government. No? Dapat nagko-complement yan war of motion, war opposition. No? Yun yung naging problema. When nagdesisyon itong dynamic civil society na ito na pumasok sa war of position inside the state, mga turn of the century na yan, 'di ba? Kahit yung akbayan na pumasok yan 98, 99, diyan lang sila pumasok, no? So, yung wellspring ng dynamism, yung wellspring ng organization nung 80s at saka 90s, no, ay medyo nag-ebb na, no, before the new century entered, nung nagpasya yung civil society to enter the state, no. Yun yung isa, right. No. Ikalawa ay nakita natin yung perfect storm ng technology, ng populism, no, ng disruption, no. Nakita natin 'yan nitong panahon ni Digong, no, na panahon natin nakita natin 'yan. May kaunting lumabas nung panahon ni Erap, no? Panahon ni Erap. Lumabas 'yan uli nung panahon ni Pinoy to some extent. Pero nakita natin yung pagragasan niyan nung panahon nung 2016 ni Digong. At hindi ko masisi yung opposition at civil society because at that time civil society has been dramatically weakened. Halos wala ng mga NGOs, halos wala ng mga coalitions, no? At yung opposition naman as epitomized by the Liberal Party didn't know what hit them. No, hindi nila na deconstruct, hindi nila na analyze, hindi nila na profile yung itong mga populist leader na sumusulpot, no? Not only around the world but lalo na sa ating bansa.
I disagree, Ronald. 'Di ba ang explanation sa lahat is disinformation? Ba't kayo iniwan ng jowa mo? Disinformation. Bakit hindi na binoto ng election? Disinformation. Bakit nasara ng disinformation? Di ba? I mean, come on. That's what they do, right? Everything is disinformation.
Pero noong 2016, they were the ruling party. No? They were the ruling party then. So, hindi sila ganun kakwan. At kung tutusin, diyan pala nagsisimula yung Cambridge Analytica, di ba? Iyan yung panahon ng Cambridge Analytica 2016. So, hindi pa siya ganun kasabog hindi pa na sumasabog nagsisimula pa lang siya, no. Medyo nahuli, no. Kaya tapos siyempre overconfident yung Liberal Party dahil sila yung ruling party. Hindi nila inasahan na tatamaan sila nitong wave ng populism na ito, itong wave ng technology na ito. At yung hanggang eve nung campaign period, no official campaign period, ang tingin ng Liberal Party kay Digong, an asset na pwede nilang gamitin, no, para humina si Binay, no? And to some extent si Grace Poe. Ganun yung appreciation nila kay Digong. Hindi nila nakita si Digong as the primary threat, no? Hindi nila nakita na itong bastion of populism at that point, no, ay isang threat. No, ang tingin nila kay Digong, well, nandyan siya, popular siya, pero not enough to win.
Yeah, just a clownish figure, right?
At makakatulong siya para ma-weaken yung primary threat, which is Binay. At ikalawa, si Grace Poe. So, yun yung nangyari, no? Yun lang nangyari. At nung nangyari yung 2019, nasa height na si Digong ng kanyang popularity. 91-92% approval rating. That was 2019, 2020. Kaya hindi nakakagulat na na-zero yung opposition. At hindi lang yun. Hindi nakapag-adjust yung opposition into a new political narrative. Consistent with the time of populism, of disinformation, no? Nanatili silang biktima eh. No? Tama ka. Pwede hindi nila napansin niya noong 2016 dahil sila nga yung ruling party. Pero 2019, dapat nakapag-adjust ka na. Dapat nakita mo na what hit you eh. Di ba? Pero hindi pa rin. Kung nakita mo yung campaign ng 8 Diretso noong 2019, walang ganun eh. Walang ganun, no? At fast forward sa 2022, no? Medyo may kaunting adjustment na. Nakikita mo sa laki ng mga rally, nakikita mo sa kulay ng kampanya, no? Pero medyo cluttered pa rin yung messaging, no? Kumpara sa focused messaging ni BBM at saka ni Duterte, no? Pero may kaunting adjustment, but not enough. Not enough. Tapos ngayon, itong past 2 years ni BBM, parang natahimik na naman at least yung traditional opposition. Naiwan si Risa na nag-iingay, but all the others, no, ay hindi lamang lumiit, no? Tumahimik, no? Halimbawa, Liberal Party, no? Liberal Party, walang nanalo sa kanila.
Ronald, hindi ka naman maimbita, tapos ako na naman sisisihin mo.
Walang nanalo sa kanila last election. Dapat nakapag-assess sila, bakit walang nanalo, no? Ibang usapin yung sa presidente, pero walang nanalo na senador, tapos kakaunting congressman lang ang nanalo. Dapat na-analyze nila ng gusto yan. At ngayon, hindi lang yun. Doon sa ilan na nanalo na Liberal Party, nahati pa sa 3. May sumama sa minority, 2. May sumama sa administration, 4 or 5. At may yung presidente ng Liberal Party na iwan as independent minority. Hindi ko maintindihan, no? Maliit na partido, na wipe out ka na halos, yung natira, nahati pa sa 3, no? At halimbawa, yung sumama sa administration, hindi lang sumama sa administration, no? Co-author ng Maharlika, defender ng Chacha, no? Defender ng Chacha.
Eloquent apologies.
No? Tapos 2 days ago, yung isang member ng minority na Liberal Party nag-abstain doon sa contempt or warrant of arrest ni Quiboloy. No? So, kakaunti na lang nga yan, ha? Tapos yung hindi pa nila nakita na kinakailangan baguhin yung narrative to be more disruptive. Di ba? Eh ngayon, hindi mo naman masasabing disruptive si Kiko Pangilinan. Di ba? Paano ka magmamarka? Di ba? Paano ka magmamarka? Hindi lamang dahil tumahimik ka na matagal, no? Nung nagsimula kang magingay, medyo kapos, medyo kulang. At filing of candidacy na sa October. Election na next year. So, mahihirapan, uphill ka. Di ba? Lalo na wala ka sa surveys. No? Wala ka sa surveys. So, hindi ako magugulat kung mali-repeat yung 2019 unless dramatically mag-scale up sila. Ang ganda ng opportunity na mag-scale up eh. Dahil una, nahati yung unit team. Gandang opportunity, di ba?
Yeah.
Na pumasok ka dyan. No? Pero bakit kulang pa rin? Ba't kapos pa rin?
Sir, ang puso, mag-cold water ka muna.
Hindi, dahil concern ako.
But I know, Ron, I mean, let's be honest.
Kahit papano, kahit hindi tayo iniimbita, yung ating sentiments nandun naman eh, di ba?
And Ronald, why are we doing this? Let's be honest. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
think we would have done this if we think things are doing okay outside, right? I'm sure there are other things. We would do more foreign policy, right? But the reason nakikialam kami is because kitang-kita namin like, ano ba yan? Like, ano ba yan? Ano to? Parang ganun.
Halimbawa, ikaw, Big R, no? Sabi mo nga, nakaka 1 million ka sa Facebook,
Yeah.
no? You're not even a politician. Pero ibig sabihin, nagagamit mo yung technology, nagagamit mo yung
baka engagement lang yan. Akala na pera to.
Diba? Ibig sabihin, nagagamit mo yan para magsimulang mag-disrupt to get the attention of people. Bakit hindi nila magawa yon? Bakit hindi nila ginagawa? Hindi naman tayo ganun katalino eh. no?
Kasi
Marami mas
Ronald,
matatalino
ano
sa atin
daw,
eh, no?
cloud chaser kasi tayo, cloud
Oo,
chaser.
so,
Hindi daw
oo.
sila cloud chaser, they're humble people
Eh, tsaka
para
tayo,
sa bayan.
self-appointed political analyst, no?
Ayun
Yun lang
naman,
na, parang kung merong pwedeng makita sa ganitong ating example, it
parang,
can be done. No,
it
it
can
can
be
be
done
done.
talaga. I think
Oh.
Christian Esquer has
Why
proven it
are
can
not
be
they
done.
doing?
Yeah.
Why are they not doing it? Yun yung aking kwali.
Yun nga,
October na, filing na ng candidacy, election na next year. Bakit wala pa ako nakikitang scaling up? But hindi yung lessons ng technology, yung lessons ng disruption, no? Yung lessons ng mga political narrative, no? Bakit
right.
bakit wala pa? Ano yan gagawin mo sa campaign period next year? Doon mo sisimulan? Doon ako nagtataka, no? Ang dami na nangyari para kumuha ka ng lessons. Ang dami na nangyari para maging basis mo to create your own narrative na sang-ayon sa challenges ng panahon.
At ang dami
Bakit
lumabas, million march nung election 2022. I mean, it's not like,
hindi ginagawa?
daydream kami dito. Exactly. We saw embers. Sorry, not
Yeah.
even embers. We saw green shoots, di ba?
Yeah.
Of something special, something big, something
Meeting the
different.
Avance, 1.2 million sa Makati. I was there.
Yeah.
No? 15 hours nandun yung mga tao, hindi umaalis.
I
Hindi
know, yeah.
umaalis. No? And most of them are young people. No?
Yeah, I mean, one of my first lives, as in blog lives, was from some of these rallies. And sa daming tao gumagamit ng internet kasi middle class lahat to, di ba? Ang hirap kumuha ng internet, dagsaan ng tao. I mean, these are things I saw in Hong Kong during Hong Kong protest. Yung huge crowds and I was and to see all of these A-list celebrities coming out, say General Luna among others. I mean, you saw it. Andun na yung andun na yung blueprint. Essentially, was shouting in your face. So, again,
Kung ayaw nilang makinig sa atin, tignan nila si Tulpo. 3 Tulpo brothers. No?
di wala na ma-depress tayo dyan. Pag ganyan, yeah.
May radio program. Ba't hindi sila matuturon, no? Ba't hindi nila pag-aralan yun, no? 3 Tulpo brothers. Number 1 sa party list, number 1 sa Senate, magna-number 1 uli sa Senate, nilalampasan si Sara sa surveys, hindi pa nag-a-announce yan. So, anong magic meron yan? No? Anong mga magic potion yung kinakailangan pa
Look at
natin?
it, like Rafi's doing all, diba? He's still in media, he's still Senate, he's doing all of this sabay-sabay, diba? It looks like he has a lot of energy for everything, diba? And he's picking a lot of big fights at the same time strategic also with choosing his battles. So apparently you can do it all naman, diba? I mean, obviously we have our disagreements with the method and sometimes the messaging, but in terms of like multi-front offensive, I think there's a lot to learn from Tulfo.
Nag-walkout siya. Diba? Nag-walkout siya doon sa hearing.
Oh, kay Bato. Hindi ko na-post yan.
Galit si Bato. Pero, sino ang nakinabang doon? Si Tulpo.
Exactly.
Diba?
He looks strong.
Minura niya yung mga pulis. Diba? Nagsisinungaling, etc. Nasaan ang simpat siya nun? Nakitulpo, hindi kay Bato.
Exactly.
Diba? Nung kinonfront niya si Pia Cayetano, tapos nilabas niya yung napakaraming papeles about sa DepEd, no? Etc. Sino na kinabang doon? Si Pia? Who is running for re-election? O si Tulpo?
But the Bato one is very good,
That's performative politics, That's performative politics.
but my basis, I mean, in a way, hindi naman, kasi diba, this is the difference. Yung kabila, yung mga iba dyan, alam mo na sino, magdadrama-drama sila kung nahuli sila, may ginawa silang mali. Ito si Tulfo, may drama, pero the underlying message is, kaya ako nag-walk out kasi you're not holding people accountable, which is a good message, right? Kaya ako nag-walk out or kaya ako naggaganyan kasi hindi kayo nag-respond dun sa So you can criticize the
Pero
exaggeration.
yung PCSO,
Okay.
simpleng PCSO, no? Simpleng PCSO. Ito na lang nga ang pag-asa ng mga mahihirap from rags to riches, no? Lolokohin nyo pa, dadayain nyo pa. O yun, di ba? Imagine mo yung marka nun sa mga
Nako,
mahihirap.
Ronald, lalo tayo mag-bash. Hindi lang kayo nag-apply sa Malacanang.
Sinasabi ko lang,
Magdodoble kara pa
dapat
kayo
yung
sa
mga-
opisina. Sabi nga, nag-advise
Sinasabi ko lang, yung mga katulad mo na pinklawan, dapat matuto dyan. Yun lang naman sinasabi ko eh.
Ayan tayo. Coming from someone who was in the Aquino administration, I'll take it with a grain of salt. Hindi, Sir Ronald, last point on this episode. I think this episode, again, naging emotional tayong dalawa as usual. Hindi, kasi I mean, I hope people understand. I mean, Ay naman namin magpa-cute. I mean, I prefer a world na kahit boring yung
I'm anything
politics.
but cute.
Sa-
Si Richard pa, pwede.
ayan
Pero ako,
tayo
I'm
eh.
anything but cute.
So, ito. Sir Ronald, do you think, I mean, you're right, 70s, 80s, golden era of civil society leadership. Do you think there was a gap in terms of training the next generation of leaders? Yung mga older millennials like me, or like bring it down. Do you think may konting gap doon, to put it nicely? I mean, again, all due respect to folks and friends and colleagues fighting the good fight. But at the same time, do you think there's a mismatch between itong rise of all of these opportunistic clowns and demagogues and what they bring to the table in terms of their political momentum and appeal, and yung counter forces for
hindi lang
progressive?
hindi lang gap. Suddenly we hit the wall. Kami nung panahon namin, lahat ng mga youth and students, no, ay kailangan dumaan sa organizing. Lahat kami has to be tested in fire. Sa
Yeah.
picket line, sa demolition, no, sa countryside, etc. No? Whatever political, ideological formation you came from, kailangan dumaan ka dyan. No? At kaya napaka-crucial sa mga coalition, sa civil society, ng mga youth na nagsimula as leaders, as organizers, etc. No? Suddenly, nagulat ka na lang, you woke up in the morning, wala nang mga strikes. Suddenly you woke up, wala nang mga demolition, no? Suddenly you woke up, no, na yung peasantry nasisimula na mag-ubos, naging OFW na yung kanilang generation ng farmers, no? Suddenly, merong ng smartphone. Everybody is communicating, everybody is educating, everybody is nandun na sa internet, no? Parang suddenly you hit the wall eh. Yung mga teachings mo, yung mga study circles, no, yung mga political education, suddenly hindi na siya umuobra. Dahil ang absorptive capacity ng mga tao, especially the youth, ay 30 seconds na lang or 1 minute. Suddenly, no, hindi kami na-realize namin, no, we are old artifacts. No, yun yung nangyayari ngayon. At marami hindi nakapag-adjust. Marami hindi nakapag-adjust. Dahil napakabilis eh. Napakabilis ng speed eh. Wala man lang transition period eh. Di ba? Na mag-adjust ka. Siguro isa yun sa naging problema. Isa yun sa naging
Ron,
problema.
I'll say one more thing. So, before we go to
Yeah.
the next episode, kasi we need to also talk about West Philippines international affairs and all. So, if you look at it, I mean, my first book was on the Arab uprisings, and yesterday I was reading something about comparison of different revolts throughout the 21st century, and nakita ko apparently there's one book now which kind of confirm what I've been saying. This century has not produced a single successful revolution, right? Ang daming revolts, Occupy Wall Street, Arab revolts. I mean, I can go on and on. Not a single one has succeeded, and my sense is one big problem is this ideology of autonomism, horizontalism. Yung mga, you cannot tweet the revolution. In fact, literally, in my first book on the Arab Spring, there's a chapter when I called Twitter devolution, right? That if you think through hashtag, you can hashtag your revolution. There will always be a KGB on the other side who can better do it than you. There will always be a troll farm who can do it better. There'll be always a site who will spy on you, use your own tweets to track you down and expose you. So I just feel there's this false ideology that makes people think through just tweeting, and I'm saying this with 100% self-consciousness that a lot of my political activism, reluctant political activism, is through Twitter and all of that. But I'm saying it at least with self-awareness that this is not enough. If anything, it could be counterproductive kung hanggang dyan lang. Because at the end of the day, there'll be no revolution or change if the people in the barracks, right, those who hold power, do not split, do not change. So, don't you think there's also this folly of over fascination with all of this, horizontalism, mga networkism, mga ganun? It doesn't work. There's no evidence it has created a single successful revolution. Magte-third decade na tayo ng 20th century.
Yeah. Well, kailangan natin mas mahabang
Ay, sorry,
discussion.
third decade na pala tayo. Magpo-fourth decade. Yeah.
Oh, kailangan natin mas mahabang discussion. Perhaps 100 sessions para pag-usapan ito. No?
No, no, but
Pero,
exactly. But can
pero
you give a
quickly,
teaser so that people look
yeah,
forward?
yeah,
No,
yeah.
because Ronald,
Pero
that's what I want to
quickly,
do. If once we sit
yeah,
down, hopefully, I don't know, somewhere Tagaytay,
yeah, yeah.
whatever. I
yeah.
want us with a nice background talk about something very green, right? Organization.
And,
That's where
yeah,
I no, sorry, Ron, I'm cutting you because
yeah.
that's where I really like our partnership because I respect that part of you. I don't agree with some of your ideas and minsan alanganin ako sa'yo. Pero Ronald, I respect you when it comes to yung talagang gangster OG background mo eh. And it's that OG background that people
yeah,
forget
yeah,
eh.
yeah. Well, una, naging debate namin to ni Maria Ressa in one of the Rappler seminars, no? Dahil we're so nice dahil ayaw nating i-weaponize ang technology. So ang nagwe-weaponize ng technology are the forces of reaction. 'Di ba? Yun ang nagwe-weaponize, no? This authoritarian, populist, etc. Sila yung nagwe-weaponize nito to their advantage, no? The Trump of this world, no? The Bolsonaros of this world, etc. No? Ikalawa ay uh, parang naging either or eh. Yung dati nating mga contradictions na ibinabandera which is basically centered on class, no? Ay parang naging anathema dun sa mga issues of identity, dun sa mga social issues like environment. Parang nahiwalay, na fragment yung ating ideological moorings, na fragment yung ating narrative, which shouldn't be. Which shouldn't be. Magkakaugnay yan eh. Class, ecology, identity. Ang nangyari, parang yung iba naging woke. Yung iba naging ultra-leftist. Yung iba ay naging pie-in-the-sky environmentalist. Which should not have happened. It weakened all of them. No, it weakened identity, it weakened class, it weakened ecology, ethnicity, etc. Kanyan eh. Integrated yan eh. Ang problema, walang mga ideologues, no, na dinevelop sila as a coherent whole, no? Yun yung naging problema. Kung meron man, ay hindi masyadong na-popularize. So yun lang yung quick answer ko na part nitong weakness na ito. Na pwede natin
Exactly.
talakayin.
As I said, this is just a teaser. No, I just felt I have to spell it out, diba? Again, kasi I think sometimes na misunderstood na naman tayo or some people deliberately try to dismiss us to say, na naman si Ronald Richard, nagpapakit na naman sila, yung mga analyst na yun, wala naman. No, I want to make these people realize, I don't know anong ginagawa nyo, but actually last time I checked, I'm studying all cases all around the world as much as I can, right? And I really realized may gaps talaga dito sa Pilipinas. And I rather ask an OG like you than some, I don't know, pa-cute person who did, I don't know, some sociology graduate course on blah 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 horizontalism. It doesn't work, period, right? It's not enough to really turn things over. If you don't believe me, go and ask people who are fighting the big fight in Russia, in the Middle East, in China. They'll tell you the reality. Thank you so much, Ronald. Kailangan natin puso, protektahan natin ang puso. Hindi ito yung puso ng ng gilas, ibang puso ito. Maraming salamat Sir Ronald Llamas. Sa susunod na episode pag-usapan naman natin ng foreign policy kasi magte-travel na naman ulit ang ating minamahal na pangulo papunta naman sa Washington DC. Magwa-White House na naman siya. Mukhang yearly, maging annual event na ito ni BBM. Sige, salamat Sir Ronald.
Imagine, less than a month, 4 trips.
Alam mo, Ronald, ano yan?
5 trips.
Gulliver's, nag-travel. Hindi na siya Magellan, Gulliver's na siya. Mapabash na naman ako ng mga taga-Malacanang. Ito na naman si Adarian. Sabi, bakit si Adarian travel ng travel? Excuse me, okay? Iba yung mga ginagawa namin, okay? Salamat, Sir Ronald. God bless. Okay, ito na, penultimate. Okay na ito guys, since there's no way to talk about the Philippines unless we talk about the international environment because we have a president who appreciates his engagement with the rest of the world. Para humahabol ako sa kanya, nag-uunaan kami ng mga destination ngayon. Okay, so ngayon na-booking na.
Pastas lang, bago tayo magsimula. Napanood mo na ba yung three body problem sa Netflix?
Hindi ko alam yan. Ano yan?
Nagsimula siya sa Cultural Revolution.
Oh, nice.
Sci-fi siya, pero nagsimula siya sa Cultural Revolution. Panoorin mo.
Oh, wow. Like Maoist Cultural Revolution? Ito yung mga
gumawa ng Game of Thrones, no?
Like Maoist Cultural Revolution?
The Maoist Cultural Wala. No? Panoorin
Okay.
mo, nagulat lang ako. Napanood ko lang yung unang episode.
Okay, okay. Sige,
Anyway.
sige. No
Balik
problem.
tayo.
Definitely. I'll check it out. Sige, sige. Habang sige, I'm sure, never mind, baka may sasabihin ako mapahamak na naman tayo. No,
Talastas lang yun.
so of
Talastas.
course, I mean, one of the beauty of going around right now is every time nasa isang capital ako, parang BBM was just there parang a few days earlier or is about to go back again, yung mga ganun. So, nung nasa Washington DC. So, ngayon, of course, latest sa Germany and, I had a chance with some other folks to have a proper chat with Olaf Scholz, their chancellor. And apparently, the guy is interesting in a sense that I always hear from Germans na he's not charismatic, is that. But apparently, when he's around medyo intellectual people, sobrang comfortable siya. Obviously, I cannot share the content of the conversation.
Buti pa ikaw, nakausap mo. Ako, na-meet ko siya, pero selfie-selfie lang kami.
No, I mean, he really took time, ah.
2022.
And I was really surprised kasi he just had arrived from Jerusalem and Amman after very tough conversations with, of course, you know who, di ba? And he stayed until 9 p.m. So dinner namin was 6 p.m., 9 p.m. 3 hours yung conversation. And naging intense, naging intense. Especially yung mga ibang kasama namin. Talaga, they raised big issue, very sensitive. Ako naman, more in terms of how to move forward. Especially sa Pilipinas. Kasi alam mo naman, Ronald, ang line natin, it's all good for the Philippines to get statements in support of our stance on West Philippine Sea. But at the end of the day, we need capacity building. We need strategic investments, di ba? And the way I explain strategic investment is like talent scouting. Di ba kung nagka-talent scout ka, you don't necessarily go for that kid who's right away ripe and has everything. Sometimes you go for the one na medyo kulang, medyo hilaw, but you know that kung bibigyan mo ng chance to, you invest in this person eventually. Well, that's the story of Ronaldo and Messi in many ways. So, ang Pilipinas, obvious may problema tayo sa corruption, regularity, red tape, but we are a frontline state. We're a very important state. We're the fastest growing economy in Southeast Asia. And I felt now with Europeans, there's a lot of sympathy for us. Yes, you have a Marcos again there, but at least there's an idea that the Philippines as a nation is fighting back. It's making up time for the time lost under Duterte. I just felt, Ronald, the respect na, kasi parang, alam mo rin yan, paano ni Aquino rin, di ba? Hindi tayo siniryosa as much as we should have been taken seriously noon eh. Parang taken for granted ang Pilipinas noon. But now, and obviously it's not because of Marcos, it's because there's a belated realization na etong Philippines, we shouldn't forget them. And you know, my conference actually in Germany was about Global South. So, India, Brazil, South Africa, Indonesia, and then ako yung kinuha nila from Philippines. So, actually, konti lang kami from East Asia. Dalawa lang yata kami. Dalawa or tatlo. And for me, I feel good na they consider us as one of the rising middle powers or rising forces in Global South. And at the same time, I told them, here in the Philippines, we feel more Western than ASEAN and all. But you know, so, what I'm saying, Ronald, is nasa sweet spot na tayo. Eto na, we're in this moment. So as much as we make fun of BBM's travel and all of that, which sometimes is really, lalo yung mga Formula 1, malapit na mag-Taylor Swift yan, I see the value of him engaging the rest of the world because I think the rest of the world wants to do things that they were not able to do nung panahon ni Duterte. Ikaw, anong basa mo dito?
Mahalaga yung sinasabi mo na yung meeting mo na yan, na sweet spot tayo at pinapansin na tayo ngayon. Dahil nung June 2022, nung pumunta ako sa Germany, na-meet ko yung head ng ruling party, si Saskia Esken.
Right, right.
At co-chairman niya, si Scholz, yung chancellor. No? At nagsalita ako sa German parliament, no? Sa Bundestag. Nandun yung lahat ng political parties. No? From the left to the right, yung AfD. First time ko na-meet yung AfD na ngayon ay lumalakas sa Germany, no? Right. Yung mga kung ano yan. No? So, bago ako nagsimula magsalita, parang kung sila restless sila, parang dumalo lang sila to comply dun sa imbitasyon. Siguro sinabihan sila ng kanilang mga party leaders, ng kanilang institute, o makinig kayo rito, etc. etc. Pero hindi sila, wala yung kanilang attention dun sa topic ko, which is the South China Sea. Until I pounce upon a tactical opportunity to get their attention. No? Sinimulan ko yung aking speech by saying that the South China Sea is the next Ukraine. O yun, lahat nakikinig. No? Of course, it's not accurate. Of course, it's not precise. Pero you got their attention. No? Ibig sabihin, kinakailangan ko pa ng ganung gimmick para makuha ang kanilang attention. Dahil nga, malayo sa kanila yung mundo natin.
Yeah.
Kaya 2 years after, sabi mo nga, we're now in a sweet spot. No? Ngayon, yung mga friends ko sa Germany, no, nagpapadala sa akin ng mga clippings galing sa Der Spiegel
Right.
dahil nasa headline yung atin ito Christmas convoy sa Ayungin. Ibig sabihin lumalabas tayo, no? All
Sorry.
over the world, no?
Sorry, akala ko andyan yung mga pictures ni BBM
Oo.
with his Rolls Royce. Sorry, sorry.
Oo.
Yeah, exactly.
Na dati hindi pinapansin. Ngayon, everybody knows about the West Philippine Sea. They're using the term West Philippine Sea, hindi lang South China Sea. No? Everybody knows atin ito na isang ragtag group ng mga civil society na nagsama-sama last October at bumiyahe last December at ngayon balak na namang bumiyahe sa Scarborough. So, parang in a few months, biglang nagmamarka na tayo. Not just because of the trips of BBM. Kung hindi, people are noticing itong part na ito ng ating mundo. Kaya magandang segue ito sa ating usapan ngayon dito
Yeah,
sa episode na ito.
and this is where medyo ninervous ako kasi may kasama ako from another ASEAN country. Actually, kaibigan ko to, and you know, who knows, he may end up as the next foreign minister of this country. And we had a lot of conversation about things. Parang ang position nila ang layo sa atin sa Pilipinas, no? Which is generally stable ang situation sa South China Sea. China is a huge source of trade and investment, which in their case is kind of realistic, right? And in fairness sa mabait to, kaibigan to, so parang ang stance nila is, naintindihan namin na ang Pilipinas, ganito yung situation nila, pero parang unique daw yung situation natin, and because we have US ally. Now, having said that, ako naman, ang worry ko dito is baka mag-overcompensate tayo dun sa mga kakulangan ni Digong. In a sense that, okay, maganda naman mag-stand up sa China, mag-assert ng ating sovereign rights. And ang kagandahan ng mga Alaman at saka mga Europeans that have dealt with, the British, the French, is they also understand we middle powers or emerging middle powers have to cooperate more. Ang concern ko dito, Ronald, correct me if I'm wrong, is there will be balikatan exercises in Batanes, huge movements happening across the north of the Philippines.
Ilocos, sa Ilocos.
Yeah, and I'm hearing the
Alawag.
Americans may put some very high-level weapon systems there. I was just talking kanina to someone who's very, very informed this morning. Kahit jet lag ako, sabi ko, I need to do this. Now, I understand the explanation. The explanation is, it's just a matter of time before China wants to do something crazy. So we have to go strong against it by bringing in as much help and all. Ang worry ko lang dito, Ronald, and probably this is the progressive in me, after all, right, is baka naman we swing too hard in the other direction, and this will trap us, or at least limit our options, because I still want the Philippines to fight for Philippines' national interest and not be overly tethered, no, to the strategic calculus of another country who may soon have a Donald Trump in charge. I'm just saying, right? Like, I'm just saying, like, it's more than 15% chance na manalo si Trump next year. So, do you want to be militarily tethered to that kind of polity, right?
Yeah. Well, meron kang tatlong polls ngayon, no? Yung isang poll, ito yung gawin natin parang parang isang noodle soup. Yung tatlong magkakaibang issue, ipaghalo-halo natin.
Right.
Una, yung usapin ng West Philippine Sea. No, yung ating victory sa UNCLOS, yung pagbubuo ng artificial island sa ating EEZ, no? At yung plano na paalisin tayo totally doon sa Ayungin, Sierra Madre, sa BRP Sierra Madre, sa Scarborough, Bajo de Masinloc, Recto, Mischief Bank, totally tanggalin tayo diyan. At talagang lagyan nila ng wall ng artificial islands, no? Yan yung ating issue na kinukuha ngayon. Yung isang issue naman ay yung freedom of navigation, no? Sa high seas. Na sabi nga ni BBM do sa trip niya sa Germany, 60% of global trade passes through here. Hindi naman totoo 'yon. Siguro mga 40 or to 50 at most, no? Ng global trade. Pero enough para for the
Ronald,
whole
baka may
world
ibang
to
trade
take-
na hindi natin alam, may underground
take
trade.
notice. Enough for the whole world to take notice and to
Right.
care, no? At ikatlo yung Taiwan, no? As far as I know, we still halimbawa yung EDCA, no? Para sa usapin ng West Philippine Sea. To some extent, freedom of navigation. Pero primarily, West Philippine Sea. Dahil sobrang dehado tayo naman, no? Sobrang dehado tayo vis-a-vis the biggest navy in the world and the second most powerful superpower in the world, no? Yan yung natin. Pero ayaw din nating maging dependent sa kanila, no? Ang kinukuha natin in a worst case scenario, no? Halimbawa, durugin yung Sierra Madre. Halimbawa, ay talagang totally maglagay ng wall of artificial island sa ating EEZ or even sa border ng ating sovereign territory, no? Ay mahalaga na merong mga bansa na willing tumulong sa atin, no? Not necessarily to go to war for us, pero at least magbigay ng pressure dito sa second most powerful superpower na nagiging aggressor natin. No? So yun yung natin. Pero ibang usapin yung Taiwan, no? The last time I looked, malinaw sa ating constitution na we denounce war as an instrument of foreign policy. No? Kaya halimbawa, kung may maglalanding sa halimbawa, merong dumating sa Batanes last month at ina-explore na magbuo ng kampo yan kahit wala yan sa EDCA, dapat naman tutulan natin dyan. Dahil clearly, yan ay for the Taiwan issue. At para yan ay mangyari, kailangan niyang pagdebatihan, no? Kailangan niyang pagtalunan, at kailangan niyang pagpasyahan ng both houses of Congress. Hindi yan pwedeng gawin unilaterally ng defense establishment, ng security establishment. Hindi yan pwedeng decisionan simply by the president. No, mahabang proseso yan. No? Siyempre, nako-complicate yan because we have almost 200,000 OFW sa Taiwan. No? Ibang usapin pa yun. No? Pero hindi pwedeng paghaluin yan like a noodle soup, no, na lahat yan ay magkakadikit. Kailangan meron din silang separation, no?
Yun yung compartmentalized approach.
Yes, dahil ngayon kasi pinaghahalo-halo na Pinaghahalo-halo na. Before we know it, no, we may be sleepwalking into a war we never decided on or where we never discussed even, no? Yun yung problema, no? Kung pupunta tayo sa ganyang klaseng fundamental na issue ng foreign policy, at the very least, kailangan ma-process natin as a nation. Nasa ngayon, definitely hindi.
Yeah, my whole of nation approach, not to mention, I mean, it's one thing for the president to make the right decision in peacetime, but is this the kind of president who can step up to the plate if things go a little bit, crazy, yes, right? And that's the other thing. Does Marcos Jr. have the temperament if talagang lumaban ng China? Or, I mean, it doesn't have to even be a war, diba? It could be some major sabotage activity, right? Infrastructure attack, cyber attack. China can respond in many ways. Is this president ready for that, or is he gonna rely on Americans to fight back against all of these things? Yun ang sinasabi ko eh. There's nothing wrong with being right, but if you're gonna go down the heroic journey, make sure you can be heroic when the challenge comes, di ba?
Tulad ngayon, yung parating na balikatan will be in Ilocos. No? Nandoon. Ibig sabihin, talagang hindi yan usapin lang ng West Philippine Sea. At the very least, pag-usapan natin, pagdebatihan natin. No? Nabasa ko na lang sa news eh. No, yung next balikatan with France, no? With France and the US, ay nasa Ilocos. No? Hindi ko alam kung bahagi ng West Philippine Sea yung pupuntahan, no? Doon, no? Paano kung hindi? Definitely Taiwan 'yan, no? Definitely Taiwan 'yan, no? Tapos ang alam ko, mayroon ng mga pumunta sa Batanes, several weeks ago. For what? No? It's not even walang EDCA diyan, no? So right. What is that for, no? Nakita natin a month ago yung tatlong Chinese research vessel na nandun sa ating eastern seaboard, no? Zigzagging, hindi yan innocent passage, no? Clearly minamap nila yung ating yung ating eastern seaboard, not only for natural resources but probably for war, for military purposes, no? Kaya ayoko na bigla na lang magising tayo na nasa gera na tayo, di ba? No,
But again, it doesn't have to be a war, right? It could be a situation whereby dahil mainis ang China, dahil hindi niya masugura ng Taiwan, dahil ang ipit na yung situation, ang gagawin nila, titirahin nila yung Pilipinas just to show their tantrum. Di ba? Kasi tayo
Yes,
weak link eh. Do you get what
alam
I'm
naman
saying?
natin, wars happen most of the time because of accidents. Di ba? Because of accidents. So,
Or short of war, right?
yeah.
China is a master of gray zone. So they could still hurt us in many ways, 'di ba? Short of a war situation. Yun ang sinasabi ko eh. Because if you look at the upcoming summit of BBM, Kishida and Biden in White House, a lot of that is going to be about Taiwan. Obviously, it's not just South China Sea. Now, I understand that there has to be preparation because bakit ang mga Chinese nandun din sa Philippine Sea, sa Aurora and all? Because yun ang dadaanan ng mga Amerikano if ever mag-intervene sila. So, the
Yeah.
Chinese want to
So,
essentially close
yeah.
down the highway, right? Para
Yeah,
hindi
magpapatuloy
makapasok
lang
ang
ako,
Amerikano.
Bigar, no? Yan yung isang poll. Yung isang poll naman, no, ay ah, totally, wag tayong sumama diyan. Totally magsara tayo, no? Totally wag nating i-provoke yung China, no? Which is naman very pro-China. 'Di ba? Very pro-China naman. Parang mag-demilitarize tayo kahit wala tayong i-demilitarize. Dahil wala naman tayong
At
militarized, no?
wala kang leverage. Wala kang leverage. Why would China...
Talagang iniiwan mong vulnerable yung ating mga frontliners.
Right.
Ating Coast Guard, yung ating fishermen, no? etc. At halos binibigay mo na sa China yung buong West Philippine Sea, which is bigger than our landmass, which is perhaps richer than our entire landmass. So masyado namang cap out yan, no? Naniwala ka man lang banat or criticism sa China. Nakita ko yung mga statements nung ilan nating mga kaibigan, no?
Yeah, I mean, the old traditional
wala man
left,
lang one
unfortunately.
sentence criticizing yung aggression ng China. Wala man lang one sentence, no? Criticizing yung pag-build nila ng artificial islands within our EEZ. No? Yan naman yung isang poll.
Or pro
So,
forma lang. If they mention it, it's
Oo.
just to say lang may sinabi sila.
Yeah.
But clearly,
So kailangan, meron naman tayong third pole, no? Na hindi naman magfo-fall simply dyan sa dalawang pole na yan, no? Na yes, kailangan natin ng tulong ng mundo, but we have to rely first and foremost sa ating sariling strength. Hindi pa nga natin na-organize ang ating mamamayan eh. Hindi pa nga natin na-organize yung ating civil society. Doon muna tayo mag-focus, no? At yun nga yung purpose sana nitong civilian convoy, the first of its kind. Para sabihin na hindi naman necessarily na armed tayo para i-claim natin na itong West Philippine Sea ay atin. Hindi naman kinakailangan tayo maging armed para protektahan yung ating fishermen at yung ating civilian coast guard
Right.
at suportahan sila. Hindi naman natin kinakailangan maging pro-US, no? Para gawin ito, no? Yun naman ang sinasabi natin. Kaya kailangan pang palakasin yung ganitong klaseng poll, no? Hindi lamang para maging fulcrum dito sa mga antagonistic polls na sinusubukang to get at each other's neck. Kung hindi, para makita na most Filipinos nandito are peace-loving, pero at the same time hindi duwag, no? Critical sa China, no?
pero hindi
pero-
tuta ng Amerika.
Pero hindi naman nag-uudyok ng gera, 'di ba? Nationalistic but peaceful. So kailangan mas strengthen yung ganitong klaseng pole para hindi lang tayo mahulog do sa dalawang pole, no? Yun lang naman sinasabi ko
Yeah.
na
No,
pwedeng palakasan.
No, thank you very much, Ron. I think we have covered a lot. So exactly on time natin tinatapos ito. I'm just glad that we look at all of these angles kasi yun nga, ang tendency ng tao is to think of things binary. O saan tayo tataya? But there's always a better way. As Buddha said, there's always the middle path, right? Or third way. So that was always my guiding principle. And
The sound of one hand clapping.
exactly. So my point is, we always have this tendency of wild swings, between some extremes, and that always kasi ang isang fear ko, Ronald, is dahil concern ng mga ibang grupo is baka makabalik ang mga Duterte's 2028 or whatever, i-forward deploy na nila lahat ngayon kay BBM. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, hindi tayo sigurado kung tatagal ito. Like, use it or lose it, right? Parang, andyan na si BBM, lagay na natin lahat ng ilagay natin doon para kahit manalo si Sara, hindi niya matanggal lahat yan. Do you get what I'm saying? So, ang fear ko dito is baka mag-over forward deploy itong mga Western allies and partners. And to be honest, I'm not sure if BBM is the best guy to make sure, baka you get what I'm saying? Like, that's my fear na to ensure against a potential return of a pro-China faction in Philippine politics, they will go like, 100/10, right? Instead of steady, slow, careful, calibrated, diba? Yun yung
Kaya,
concern ko ngayon
kaya
nila.
Big R, dapat yung foreign policy natin mas diversified no? Dahil lahat naman ito may kanya-kanyang national agenda. Kahit kasama sa Quad ang
Right.
India, may ibang agenda yan, no? Hindi yan automatically susunod sa US. Kahit nag-scale up yung relasyon ng US at saka Vietnam, yung Vietnam ay hindi yan papailalim sa kahit anong superpower, no? Very independent yan. Ganun din ang Indonesia. So, kailangan yung ating foreign policy ay hindi lamang monopoly ng isa. Kailangan talaga very diversified. At kailangan natin ng ng mga bagong diplomats na nauunawaan ito. Sabi mo nga, hindi lang binary. Dahil karamihan sa ating mga diplomats, ang training pa rin, na-train sila sa isang binary world. No? So ganun, no?
Yeah.
Na at diyan sana mag-scale up ang civil society. Dahil hindi tayo kaagad may impluwensyahan ng dalawang poles.
Yeah.
No? Yung ating history, yung ating tradition, yung ating culture, at to a great extent, even our ideology, ay make us less vulnerable dyan sa kanyang klaseng binary poles.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, although I would disagree with the example of Vietnam, India, and Indonesia, because none of them have alliance with the U.S., right? So I'd rather look at the
Yeah, yeah.
example of South Korea or Germany, who are U.S. treaty allies or U.S. allies, but they can say no. They're allies who can say no. I mean, we saw that during Trump, diba? Merkel really, no, we're not gonna follow you, Trump. Inis na inis si Trump sa kanya dahil doon. So I think, of course, we're not at that level in terms of capacity, but that should be the target. We should be allies, but allies who can say no. Kaya nga sabi ko, everyone talks about the risking from China. I said we should also de-risk from Trump if ever it comes
Yeah.
back. So I
Yeah.
appreciate actually you
Yeah,
forwarded
what
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
Big R, ay itong mga bansang ito ay mas i-strengthen natin yung relasyon natin sa kanila. Yun yung ibig ko
Yung
sabihin.
South Korean,
No?
You mean India, Indonesia? Of
Ano
course,
yung
yeah, yeah.
Japan, South Korea, matagal na relasyon natin sa kanila because
Oh.
of the US.
Pero
Ito mga bago
India,
no?
ganun, oh.
Oo, India, Vietnam, no?
Or
To some
Turkey, di
extent,
ba? Turkey is a US
yeah,
ally,
but to
but
some extent Europe. Dahil
yeah,
ang Europe
exactly.
naman kasi hindi ganun ka-active dito sa South China Sea since forever. No, ngayon lang sila uli pumupunta dito. So yun yung sinasabi ko na dapat nating strengthen. Maliban pa dun sa mga kasama na sa ambit ng US.
Right. Salamat, Sir Ronald. Mukhang hindi lang pusong kailangan tinalagaan. Pati ano, pasensya na sa sobrang daldal natin. But tingnan mo, kay jet lag ako and all, I said, I'm not gonna miss this chance for us to have this conversation. I hope nakikita ng tao saan galing itong passion natin dalawa. No? Hindi kami nagdadaldal dito ng 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours dahil lang gusto lang namin magdaldal. No, we really feel a sense of urgency, both internationally because I think there's a lot of opportunity, but there's also a lot of risk here, but also domestically because we think a lot of things that should have been done na common sense hindi nagagawa. And of course, Ronald, you and I are aficionados of German politics, and you know how organized they are in Germany. They
Yes,
will
yes.
fight. I mean, the day na dumating ako sa hotel ko, so I stayed in sa Adlon, near the Brandenburg. So it's just next to the Russian embassy. Ang haba ng pila next to that. I thought like Taylor Swift concert. And someone said, no, no, no. That's a protest to disrupt the elections of Russia. And Navalny, the wife of Navalny, was actually there.
Is there,
There, a
no?
few hours just before I came, I saw her picture
Yeah.
kasi I follow her on Twitter. Oh, etong linya to kasi I went around. So, you know, like, they constantly fight and contest for things. Kasi sa Germany, especially the progressives and all, they don't take anything for granted. They had to fight against Nazis. Now they have to fight against, I don't know, Alternative for Deutschland. They have to fight against all sorts of crazy stuff. So they never said, oh, tapos na, nagawa na namin, Berlin Wall came down, happy, let's go. No, they were never like that. Every year, every month, they fight for it. And I was just hoping, sana we have a little bit of that, German dedication. And the reason I say that
And,
is,
yeah,
I'm surprised, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Ronald. My sense is Pinoy was an aficionado also of German politics. I was telling some of my German friends, I said, actually, Merkel, I think medyo ina-idol ni Aquino si Merkel. I mean, I love Bismarck. I mean, Bismarck is my idea of the ultimate authoritarian. Like, Lee Kuan Yew is just like a baby of Bismarck, if you look at it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, I don't know, I mean, siguro, it's easy to dismiss you and me of expecting too much. Pero hindi ko naman sinabi mag-Germany tayo ng 10 out of 10 because the circumstances are different. Pero sana at least yung kalahatan ng mobilization, yung the way they're fighting for their democracy, they never take their democracy for granted. That's why I
Yeah.
appreciate about Germans. Sorry, more than Americans or some of the other people, right? Yeah.
Yeah. At bago tayo magtapos, gusto ko lang i-clarify na hindi lang kami dito passionate ni Richard. Meron pa mga ibang bagay na passionate din kami.
Ayan na naman, okay. NTR, sabi ko, ano, the moment na ganyan ka, sabi ko, eto na,
Wala.
i-mute na natin, i-mute. Sorry, I can't, hello, Ronald, hello, hi. Salamat.
Baka kasi sabihin nila, puro cognitive lang tayo
Ay,
Puro
hindi, ano
theory
tayo,
lang.
we're Renaissance men. We're Renaissance men. Alright. On that note, thank you to the real R na bigger R and salamat sa lahat ng mga nakikinig sa atin. Wow, medyo malaking live natin. Mga 1,500 live tayo at this hour. So, I'm pretty proud. Mukhang nagustuhan nila yung drama natin. On that note, thank you very much, Sir Ronald. God bless. Have a
Salamat.
blessed weekend and
Anytime.
hopefully catch up soon and
Anytime.
let's organize more in person also for summer naman sana. Medyo malamig-lamig.
Yes.
Pili tayo ng Tagaytay or Baguio kasi mainit dito.
Sige, huwag kang
Kakasabay.
magpapapako sa krus sa Easter.
Sige lang. God bless and talk to you soon. Ayan. Wow, ang daldal din tong kasama ko. Dalawang madaldal ang kasama ko today. Hindi ko nasabihin sino yung isa. Pero magaling pa rin yun. Napakagaling mo. Bitin pa, sabi ni Louie. Diyos ko, 1.5 hour na kailangan ko pa mag-gym. Okay guys, thank you very much again sa lahat ng mga sumama sa atin, nagmamahal sa atin. Ayan, sabi ni Roy, baksak ng Germany. Well, except number 3 economy in Germany in the world with the per capita income of 4 to 5 times larger than China, your favorite. So, you want to put things into perspective. Okay, thank you very much guys and hope tuloy-tuloy itong support niyo sa atin. Pasensya na, nawala ako ng 3 araw yata kasi grabe ang hirap ng time zone difference, 7 hours behind yung Berlin and sobrang packing schedule natin because I want to make sure I don't miss a single chance to drop by friends, drop by places I need to drop by. Bumisita din of course ako doon sa Holocaust Memorial, sa memorial sa mga Roma, all of those people who are victims of Nazi Germany, and at the same time also reflecting on how German people never gave up on their struggle for a better nation despite their very torturous history. Kaya yun ang malaking respeto ko sa kanila. And of course, shout out dyan kay Chancellor. Yan, yung mga others. Thank you very much for the fantastic time we had there in Berlin, Alemania, Deutschland. God bless. Auf Wiedersehen and hopefully catch up with you guys tomorrow. Thank you po. Salamat. And please, don't forget to subscribe and follow us, please. Yung mga konti na lang, kailangan natin mga konting 5-star pa dyan sa podcast natin sa Apple. Please, just drop a few lines and support and all para pumasok na yung ranking natin. And also tuloy-tuloy, hopefully itong subscription niya sa YouTube natin para makamit natin yung threshold for verification and all. Because kailangan natin yan. Para lang siguradong tao na ako talaga to, si Richard to. Kasi daming mga makulit na pinipost natin sa shorts. Baka akala niya na hack tayo. Thank you very much. God bless and talk to you soon.